Welcome back to Sheet Metal is Fun. We're going to revisit our tool tray and we're going to add a base and a drawer on the bottom of our tool tray. You're going to really like this one. Let's go inside and get started. Welcome back to Sheet Metal is Fun. This is Captain Ken reminding you that sheet metal can fly. Take a look at that. Wow, 13 speedometers. My lucky number. And sheet metal is fast. And last but not least, sheet metal is fun. Look at that, a heart-shaped box. Right there means we're ready to film another episode of Sheet Metal is Fun. Today, did you see the wink? No, you didn't see the wink. So today, we are going to add a base to the bottom of our tool tray with, look at this. Imagine in my hand right now is a sliding drawer on the bottom of our tool tray. That's what we're going to do today. There's going to be a lot to it, but before we start that, I want to add a few more folks. I think it's 5. We're going to add 5 more fabulous fabricators, folks like you out there that have watched our lessons and you were inspired enough to make something, and we want to tell you thank you. We want to say how much we appreciate you guys not only following along and learning, but actually doing it. So look at this. We have, oh yeah, I got notes on the back. This is Jerry from Fort Worth, Texas. Can you see Jerry there? Jerry made a tool tray, and his wife was so sweet. They were so tickled, and he loves it. Look, he made it deeper, and it's actually longer, and that's what I want. Just because we make something that's 14 by 7, you don't have to make yours 14 by 7. Make it fit your needs. Make it fit what you want it to do. So that's Jerry in Fort Worth, Texas. They said that whenever Jerry was making this, it was so cold outside, he had to finish it up in the living room. Jerry, Fort Worth, Texas. Hans from Sweden. His son has a dog, and the little bags that they need whenever they take the dog for a walk, they come in a roll. And so Hans made this little chute. You can see where he laid out the pattern. And at the end, it's pinched off so that as the rolls are dropped in and they slide down to the bottom, you can grab the roll, the cartridge, and pull it out of the sleeve, and it dispenses one at a time. Isn't that a great idea? I didn't even tell him I didn't give, this is not anything from one of our lessons. This is just Hans from Sweden going, yeah, all right, I can do it. Hans, thank you. You're a fabulous fabricator. We have Cam from Alberta, Canada. I looked at the material that Cam used on his tool tray. That is some heavy duty. This looks like it's at least 24 gauge. So Cam had to go through quite a process. The thicker material is more resistant to bending and fabrication, and it just makes it harder. But look what a heavy duty, what a beautiful tool tray that is. Cam from Alberta, Canada, said he just had this sheet metal laying around, so he made a tool tray out of it. We're glad to be part of your story, Cam. We're glad that you're part of ours. We talked about you don't have to copy exactly what we're making. What I want you to do is take the lessons and the concepts that we have and apply them to whatever you need. So look at this. Matthew from Ottawa, Canada, he showed us here the layout of his tool tray. This is his hammer. These are his snips. So he laid them on there. and that determined the size, the base of his tool tray. That's exactly what we want you to do. Make every one of these projects, make it yours. Look at this. I see a little bit of resemblance there. Look at that scribe. You go, Matthew. Maybe this one. Look at that. Love it. I love seeing you guys make stuff and move forward in your life and become more capable. So Matthew showed us this is how he determined the size of his tool tray by what he wanted to put in it. And there it is. Look at this. Can you zoom in on that? Is that glare good, hon? I don't think anybody heard you nod your head, but she nodded her head. Look at this beautiful tool tray with the tools in it that he wanted to have in it. Man, that's awesome, Matthew. You're a rock star. You're going on our Fabulous Fabricators. And along that same vein, making your project fit your needs. Look at Jason from Michigan City, Indiana. Look at this. Look at that wide-bodied, heavy-duty. You put a cross brake in the bottom. I like that. That just shows that he's not afraid to think outside the box, or the tool tray in this case. So he made it for his needs. That's exactly what I want you to do. You may not need one that's 14 inches by 7. Maybe you need one like this. This one looks like it's almost a 1 foot square base, maybe 12 by 14. But this is what Jason needed, and this is what he made. Man, I love it. Thank you, Jason. I appreciate it. You made it your own, and you made it in the book of Fabulous Fabricators. So we've got Jason from Michigan City, Indiana. Matthew from Ottawa, Canada. Cam from Alberta, Canada. Hans from Sweden. And Jerry from Fort Worth, Texas. Look at that. All right, let's put these in our Fabulous Fabricators. And then we're going to get to tonight's lesson. We're going to put a base on the bottom of our tool tray. And then we're going to make a drawer to go in that base. So let's get everybody. Man, this is awesome. Hun, do I get to be in the book? No. I'll just have to know in my own mind that I am a fabulous fabricator. Whether I have the photographic evidence of it or not. Canada coming through twice on this lesson. Michigan City, Indiana. All right, you fabulous fabricators, thank you for joining along. Thanks for being part of the club. We appreciate you hanging out with us and learning right along next to us. So what we're going to do tonight, it is night here. We're going to add a base to our tool tray, and we're going to make a little drawer that goes in and out of that base. So the first thing we're going to do, come on in here nice and close, hon. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a base. So I've drawn it out, and I go over this, I think every time, but if you draw it out first, give yourself a fighting chance. If this thing is 7 by 14, make sure that this one is about half of that one, and help get the drawing into your mind. Give yourself a fighting chance. Take some of the guesswork out. So this is the base we're going to make. This is a drawing. This is what we would use as one of the industry standards on how to bend that up. I'm going to make an X right here. X is always you, the fabricator. X is, you always come up toward X. So that's an up and up. These are all ups. Matter of fact, everything in here is all up. And so let's move that X over. Like I said, there's going to be a lot in this lesson. Look, the only thing I did was move that X over here. So now this is still an up because it's still up toward X. This is still up. But look, when I moved the X over here, this is going away from X. So now that's a down, and these are downs. That isn't going to work, but it also shows you how important it is. Get the X in the right place. So this is one way of marking. You can draw a diagram like this. This is for the base. I also have, this is the drawer we're going to put in there. It's going to be 6 1/4 by 11 5/8. And here is that same drawing. Here's the X. So all these, X is always U. So everything is up toward X, except look right here. There's a down. It's going away from X, away and away. So let's go right to the base. The first thing I want to do is let's determine the size of the base, because we're going to make our base the same size as our tool tray. Our tool tray is 14 by 7, but as you saw in our fabulous fabricators, make it what fits your needs and your application. But ours is 14 by 7, 14 by 7, and we're going to make the drawer come out this way. If you wanted to, you could make it come out this way, but for us, we're going to come out this way. So let's look at this drawing. So to make this base, the first thing I did was I drew this triangle, this rectangle right here, and it is 14 by 7. Since I am the drawer and the fabricator, I didn't write the inch designation in here. We don't need it. We already know this is not 7 feet. We know that's not 14 feet. So just for clarity, because some of these markings are kind of small. There's a 3/4, 2.5, 2.5 and 3/4. This is 2.5. This is also 2.5. So that whenever we fold them up, they all end up at the same place. So one of the first things we're going to do when we start a project is we're going to draw out a pattern, and that allows us to look at it, to visualize it, to get it in our head what we're going to make. And then we will come across a problematic corner or a corner that we have to think about. And this X here just shows me that's a part that we're going to cut out. So let's go to cut size, but before we make the cut size for our base, look at this. Cut size demo. So this is how I do it, and this is what works for me. The first thing I do, if I'm going to make this is a pan. It's 11 inches by 11 inches. It's 2 inches deep with a 1/2 inch hem. So the first thing I'm going to do is add the allowances. So here's 2.5, 2.5, 2.5 and 2.5. I'm going to make myself a little note right here. 5. And it's a pan, all the sides are equal, so I only have to do that once. So I'm going to add 5. So now I don't have to go, all right, 11 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2. What I've done is instead, I've gone 2.5 plus 2.5. That's my allowance. My allowance is 5 inches. Now all I got to do is add this allowance onto the size of our pan. So 5 plus 11, here's our cut size, 16 inches. And if you want, it's 16 inches square. So I add the allowances first, and I'll put that number in a bubble on the size that it goes with. I didn't make one over here because they're all 4 the same. That's the first thing I'm going to do. So let's say we're back to our pan. We would figure out what size we wanted here, how deep we're going to make the pan, and I would go around and add the edges, add the allowances, and then add the inside dimension. So 2.5, 2.5, we know that's 5. There's our allowance designation. Now, here's the size you want. Allowance designation plus the size gives us our cut size. Now, with that cut size demo, let's go ahead and let's apply that. So here we have 2.5 and 3/4. That's 3 1/4. And then we have 2 more. That's 4 1/4, 5 1/4. So let's make that note. 5 1/4. Now we're going to add these allowances. This one I have to do it twice because these allowances are different than these two. So 2.5 plus 2.5 is 5. 3/4 plus 3/4 is 1.5. 5 plus 1.5 is, ta-da, 6.5. 6.5. So what I did, instead of 2.5 plus 2.5 is so easy. We know that's 5, and we know that 3/4 and 3/4 is 1.5. 5 plus 1.5, that gave us our 6.5 allowance. We could have come over here. 2.5 plus 3/4 is 3 1/4. 2.5 and 3/4, 3 1/4, 3 1/4, 3 1/4, 6.5. So now that we've added up our allowances, let's fill in the blanks. We are 5 1/4 plus our 7. You know what? Let me start this by saying, just out of habit, I always add the biggest number first whenever I'm thinking about it. So let's do the big number first. 14 plus 6.5. I'll give you a second. Oh, that might be trademarked. I can't say that. 14 plus our 6.5 allowance, 20.5. 7 plus our 5.5 allowance, 12 1/4. Look at that. So our cut size is 20.5 by 12 1/4. So instead of starting at one end and taking 3/4 plus 2.5 plus 14 plus 2.5 plus 3/4, we added up our allowances, made a note of that, and then added that to the dimension that we want. We're going to notice that same thing when we get back to the drawer. Our drawer is 11 5/8 by 6 1/4. So you noticed up here, I've already added in the number that we need. So we're going to do, here it is right here. 16 5/8 plus by 12 1/4. So I took the allowance, made a note of it, allowance, and made a note, added that to the number we need, and that's going to be our drawer. Here's that drawing again. The back side of the drawer is a 1/2 inch hem. The front, we're going to fold the handle right, make the handle right out of the sheet metal so we don't have to go and buy a separate handle. And then the sides, 1/2 inch hem, 1/2 inch hem. All right, so now there's our cut size. Let's put, so now we have our base drawing, our base bending diagram, our cut size, and magic. So I'm using some bonderized metal. It has more of a matte finish, and I'm hoping that you can see those lines, and also there shouldn't be any glare off of this. So this is going to turn into that. And so since you probably already have a pair of reds, if you bought a pair of reds and greens, we're just going to go ahead and cut it out with reds and greens. Now, if you guys weren't looking, I would do this like this. But look, Nobody's looking, right? And I left that little tail on there. But look at those long babies. But you are looking, so let's pretend that didn't happen. But if you weren't looking, that's how it would have happened. All right, here we go. Let's continue the notching. Never go to the end of your snips unless you're notching, unless that's the last part of the cut. This is going to be our 1/2 inch bending tab that we're going to rivet with. I always stop a little short, and then that little piece stays on with this larger piece, and I don't have to look around on the floor for these. All right, let's look back at our drawing to make sure I don't cut something off wrong. Let's go ahead and cut these 45s off here. Notice the drop is being covered by the snip. So at the end of the cut, the drop is going to go down. As opposed to, that was right, here's wrong. Now look, if you can see this part that's coming off, then it can get to you. But when you can't avoid it, look, put your finger on it. But get in the habit of positioning your material so that the drop always drops away from your eyes, your face, teeth if you have them, hair. Now we are going to notch this one all the way in. Let me think about it. Yep. Going to do that on this side too. This notch is it's a little out of the ordinary, but it also is what we want to do. All right. So now, look, I have this long X. I'm going to cut all of this out. You don't go to the end of your snip. So whenever we're snipping, once I cut and I always leave a little bit left, as I'm opening the snip, I'm pushing the snip. So you don't cut, open, and then push. As you're opening the snip, make that forward movement in the cut. So let's see if we can see what that looks like in action. See how the snip, as I'm opening, I'm actually moving forward at the same time. Man, look at that. What a nice line. That's my first time, too. All right, so we're going to fold that around. Let's take this out. Yep. Yep. So I've never made this exact notch before, so look at that. Learning new things every day. Let's go ahead and finish that all the way to the corner. I'm going to cover that with my thumb. We certainly don't want things that are shaped like that to come toward us. We want them to come toward the trash can. So I'm going to do the same thing here, covering it with my thumb. This one I don't have to because it's going the other way. Now I could have switched to a green pair of snips there. All right, let's see. That's going to go there. That's going to go there. And then we're going to make a 45-degree mark in here. Combination square. This thing has some really awkward notches in it. And then this gets cut out. Wow. This just has a lot going on here. You guys are going to like this. I like it already. Let's draw our 45 in here. Last notch. All right, let's see if that matches our drawing, and yes, it does. So we can use a diagram, a bending diagram like that, or, and for those of you that watch every episode, you've seen this already, so we can do a drawing like that, or we can mark each one individually. What I'm drawing here tells me that when I get over to the break, I'm going to bend a 90, and I'm going to bend that 90 up. That one's up toward X, up toward X. If I get in a hurry and I make a line like that, that doesn't mean that I want you to use a protractor and try to copy that angle. If it's something other than a 90-degree bend, I will mark it. If it's not marked, it's a 90. But if I did have something like this, it might say up 80. But we don't have that. So if you see me make a mark very quickly, it's always a 90 unless there are certain circumstances. Now this one in the front, this is going to be a little different. Look at this. This is going to do this. Now I've left this a little open just for clarity, but this is going to be a hem. And this is going to be an open hem. So we've got 90s. All right. Should we go over to the break and bend this one up, or you want to notch the second one? Want to bend it up? Let's bend it up. All right. So we've got this out of the ordinary little bend on the front. You're going to see why we did it when we get over there. So let's go ahead and start this. I'm going to bend this first one. We're going to bend this hem. Now, part of me hates to do this because we're actually bending an unintentional bend where I don't really want it. So, wait, don't go away. I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere. Still here. Did you hear me? All right. So, because we're going to bend a hem here, we had to bend these down that I didn't want to bend, but we had to bend them. And then let's see if we can finish this. Don't let some old tin knocker catch you over by the break with a hammer. They turn red, blue. Oh my gosh, it's gorgeous. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is, you see what we've done? We've bent the hem over. Now that we've got it started, we're going to flatten it out. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Now these two bends that I put in there that I didn't really want to, let's see if we can just take a little bit of that out. And we're going to be the only ones that even notice. When we get it all the way done, nobody's going to see it. All right. Now, we're going to go right here. This is our next bend. Because the first thing we did is we bent that hem. Now we're going to bend this one. It's going to be an open hem. It's actually 135 degrees, only because the front of the brake is 45 degrees, and 90 degrees plus 45 is 135. So we're going to take this up here. Again, making that bend in the front that we didn't want, but it's also, it's going to disappear. When we get this thing all done, nobody's going to see it. So let's finish this up. We want to go over to 135 degrees. And rather than bend these ears over, we stopped right there, and then we're going to finish this off with a block of wood. Now, this little tiny tab on the end is going to stay 90. The rest is going to go on over. So if you watched our first tool tray video, we made the whole thing with some tools that you may have around the house, some pretty ordinary tools. But just for speed, we're going to make it with all these high-grade professional tools. So now I've got that bent over. I'm going to bring that down a little bit more, but not all the way. Look at that. See how it's open back here? Can you see that openness, baby? All right. Okay, so now let's come back here, turn up 3/4. When the bending leaf is flat like a table, that's 90 degrees. And then this one, another 90. Whenever we put the tabs on the long sides, which is what we have, when we're bending up this, we get these bent up for free. No extra charge. All right. So some of this, I want to try to do as much of this right here in the brake that we can. I want that tab to go to the inside. All right. This is one of the nice things about working with 26 gauge. If you watched our Material World episode, pun intended, you know that 26 gauge is on the thin side, but it's easy for home benders to bend. right. Now we're going to go to the other side, the opposite side of the tool, the brake. We're going to bend this one up. We're doing the same thing here that we did on that side. But if we try to do this at that end, it would flatten out this tab right here that we've gone through all the trouble to make. So I want this to go to the outside of that tab. So I'm watching it. I'm also lifting. All right. Since we're getting super trick here, which is what we're doing, super trick, 90 degrees, flat like a table. Yeah, ooh, I like that. All right, let's take it back over to the bench. I'll see you at the bench. All right, so this is sort of an odd little fold that we're making. So we're actually gonna, once we put a crease in here, the metal has memory built into it. So I'm just gonna hold this right here, and we're gonna finish up that bend by hand. Look at that. Oh boy, I sure like that. Yeah, whenever we put a rivet in that, ooh, All right, let's do the same thing here. So putting the crease in it first is what gives us the opportunity to bend this up by hand. And you notice I'm pulling this one back so I can go inside, because to make that bend I have to go past 90. Can you see that angle? And then it'll spring back to where I really want it. And I want it right there. That's where I want it. All right, since we've gone through all the time and effort to buy these vice grips, let's use them. So if you can see the tab that we bent in there, let's add a couple of pop rivets in there. Always watch where your hand is so that you don't find yourself in a bad spot. So let's put 2 in here. I'd rather push this way. We always want to push as hard as you can reasonably push. With every rotation of the drill bit, you want to be removing material. Otherwise, you're just creating friction. A byproduct of friction is heat. And if you heat treat the metal, you just make it harder on yourself to finish the hole. And my battery just died. Yep. I'm in it to win it. I'm back. Shapow. In it to win it. Here we go. Another pop rivet. I've had some folks ask about this pop riveter. This is made by United Shoe Machinery, and legend has it, United Shoe Machinery is the folks who invented the pop rivet. They say that it is, look at this, it's the eyelet for shoes. That's why this is made by the shoe machinery company. I am willing to consider other legends about the origins of the pop rivet. But shoe machinery, the USM Corporation, look, it says pop because they were the ones that invented the pop rivet. But it's not a history class. Here we go. One more hole. Oh, this thing's going to be awesome. Rivets come in different diameters and grip range. This is here in America, they call this a number 42. It's an 1/8 inch diameter, and they say the grip range is an 1/8 to 3/16. So that's how much you could grip. Look, here's a 44. See the difference? 44 is longer, same diameter, but more of a grip range. But we want to always use the shortest grip range that gets the job done. See, look inside of our base. That's how much we want sticking through. We don't need a long rivet sticking through. I'm going to hold that still to make sure you got it. Did you get it, baby? All right. So there's different diameters and different grip ranges. What we're using is an 1/8 inch diameter. That's an 1/8 to 3/16. This is an 1/8 to 1/4, number 42. All right. Now, let's get back to this funky little winner here. You ready? See where we did all this monkey motion here? So this part we folded over but left it raised in the back. And that's also a hemmed edge. But then we left this 90-degree tab right here. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take our hand seamers, which is regional. Hand seamers, tongs, duck bills. They could be any number of things. I don't know. I've always gone with hand seamer. That always just seemed like the most professional. So I've just added that. See where I've just added that 90. Now back here to this one bend that we made. I want you to watch. Are you ready? Did you see what I just did right there? I bent it again on that line that we had. Here's the line we made when we bent this up. Look at that. Since we already had the line there and the metal has a memory, look at the way our corner has developed. So you know we have an upturned flange just behind here. Same thing over here. We have that upturned flange, and we're going to put a rivet into that. Let's give that a little bit of hammer love. I don't know why I'm swinging this giant sledgehammer. Don't go anywhere. Still here. All right, I have cleverly hidden that one, but look at this one. So I've just folded that around. You know, we have a 90-degree flange turned right there, right? So we're going to hold this right here, and we're going to put a rivet into that. We know that flange is a 1/2 inch. So if we come up from here 1/4 inch, we're going to be right where we want to be. You could tell I was in a little bit of an awkward position there, so I wasn't able to push as hard as I would like to. Let's make sure we get another 42 or 1/8 by 1/8. So I put a rivet through the front and into that upturned flange. If I hold that right there, hang on, let me get my flashlight. I'm just going to hold this still and you figure out, can you see it? So now we have 1 inch turned into the base. We cut all these at a 45 so that they would match up nicely. Let's get this one tapped around. I think I'm going to drill this one from this position and see if I like that any better. So 1/4 inch down on that line. This is good. You got to see what happened is I pushed too hard and I bent that tab over. Can you see that? Right there. I got to straighten that back up. I need it to be vertical. Here we go. I don't want you to look away and go, oh, look, he looked away, and then it was done. Even though I think I did just bend it back with my thumb. So let's just put that back where we want it. And I'm going to go back to the vertical position. And I can keep an eye on it. Here we go. So a little less pressure. And we're just going to take a little bit longer to make the hole. Well, when I said a little bit longer, I wasn't kidding, hon. We could have ran a stopwatch on that thing. A little, huh? Thank you. A little longer, I said. All right. Okay, so, oh, I guess we could have tried it on, huh? There we go. There's the new basement to our tool tray. Now, one of the things that I've done here is we went through the extra trouble to turn this flange because I think that just gives us a really nice finish. See what a nice finish that is? Where two flanges are turned in together. But if you wanted, we didn't have to turn this flange 90. Imagine we could have just left that flange up. And then what we would do, imagine that flange is turned up. Then our rivet would have went through the base and into the side of the the base of the tool tray. What I don't like about that is then from the inside the tool tray, you have the back side of the rivets infringing on your useful space. So we did it for a couple of things. I think that's a really good looking, I like the way this all comes together. And then we don't have to see the back side of the rivet. So here is, part of that is, have you seen that long, oh, I know where it is. Look at this. I had to go and buy, look at that. So, because of the way that we turn the flange, it makes this difficult to drill this hole. Even though, looks like I could do it across this side, but to move across this side to get those rivets in would be difficult. So just in case, we bought big drill, long drill bit. So let's line this corner up. Make sure we like it. We like it. And then let's put a pop rivet in here. Woo-wee! Hon, have I told you today how much I love a good sharp drill bit? Woo! I love a good sharp drill bit. Did you see how that thing went through there? Like... I like it. Anytime you're putting several fasteners in a long run, once we put one in here, the next fastener wants to be as far away from that one as we can. Because if we got short-sighted, we could put the next rivet in right here. Look, that's pretty close. But then look what that does to the rest. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down here, put the next rivet as far away as we can. Ooh, I love that sharp drill bit, man. That thing is nice. I don't know if you can hear the excitement in my voice, but boy. Now what I'm going to do, look right here, open this up, get one last visual picture on what's underneath. Let's get one more. Let's get one in this side. And we'll take some of the wiggle out. If you think about it, after you use your pop riveter, load it again, and then when you're ready to use it again, it's ready to rock. Now the last one we're going to put in, this little Jim Dandy right in the front. All right, here we go. Man, this thing's turned out sweet. I said, was it something I said, huh? Was it something I said or something I did? All right, last one. Through the bottom of the tool tray into that flange. So now we've attached the base to our tool tray. Step one. Now let's move on to the drawer. And then let's go to the drawing of our drawer in case there's any wisdom to be found there. I like it. So now we have a picture of what we're making. We have a diagram of what we're making. We're going to use our reds. We got the base made and installed. I added a couple more rivets around here. Looks like I got about 7 of them in there all together. That gives us a real nice finish all the way around. Now let's make the drawer that's going to go into that place that we've created. Take one last look at our drawing. That's going to give us the best idea on how to make what we're making. All right. I'm ready. I feel good. So let's go here all the way to the corner. Now we're going to take this half, stop before the corner, bend it up out of the way, make this last notch, and then that piece has a good home somewhere that doesn't include us. Same thing here. We're going to cut all the way into the end of the notch. Leave a little tail on there. I like it. Now in the front, let's look at our drawing. We're going to make this straight cut in right here, and we're going to leave that tab. Straight cut in. There's our tab. Leave a little something in there. The only time you go to the end of your snips is when you're notching. Doing the same thing here. All right. Now, let's look at our drawing. Okay, so what we're doing is we're just cutting these in at a little bit of an angle. Cut there, there. So this is a classic example of when a shop person, which I fit that description. I would use yellows instead of reds, even though yellows and reds cut the same. Yellows are what we use in the shop for notching. And so notice the position of my hand. So we're going to go there, my right hand. So this gets my right hand in a place of more comfort, as opposed to this. You see, I had to elevate my elbow and my arm to make this cut. But with a straight pair of snips, I can make that cut down here on a different plane. Now we're going to take a little bit off of this, just like it shows on the drawing. We're going to cut this corner. So I'm using the yellows just because that's what we use in the shop, but the reds, you can do the same thing with the reds. I'm going to take this off right here. All right, let's get our marker out. And right now, we're looking at the drawing. We've made the cut list. We blanked out the piece. We looked at the drawing, at the diagram. Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and mark this. Hem up, 90 up, 90 up, hem up. You know the deal. Now this is the only one that gets tricky, because what we're going to do here is we're going to go, this is going to be hem down, and then down and down. All I wrote here was down. It's a 90 down, but we're going to assume that it's going to be a 90 unless otherwise noted. If I wanted something beside 90, I would let you know. So we could have done this way. Oh, look at that. Okay, everybody. Oh, you know what's the best eraser? Ink. It's a down. Down. Hem down. So, since those are all hems down, let's reach over here and let's move this marks. Since they're going to be down, we're going to go 1, 2, 3. We just want to make enough of a mark to transfer the bend mark to the other side. So all I did was I put a prick mark. This is a prick mark. You notice it has a blunt end on it. This is a scribe. Notice the difference. This is for marking. You would never hit this one. It drives old guys crazy. I've seen them. I've done it. I mean, seen it. This is a prick mark. So notice the more blunt edge. This one is for hitting. This one we can hit. This one, look, I can't even get myself to do it. Look it. Nope, can't do it. All right, let's go bend this up. So here we are with the break. We have our diagrams. The number one thing you always do to your project is perform the bend that causes the least amount of change in the material. So we don't want to bend a 90. We want to bend these hems. So let's go ahead and, this is one of the reasons that a 1/2 inch hem is very common in the trade, because the front of the break is a 1/2 inch. So sometimes we don't even mark it. We already know where the 1/2 inch is when it's flush in the front. Now let's give that a little smash. Same thing here. 1/2 inch hem, also flush in the front. I like the way you move, baby. You've seen this. You've seen this play before. And, all right, don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. No smoke and mirrors here. You see me on the struggle bus, by golly, we're going to take a ride together. All right, 1/2 inch hem, up. Look what I'm going to do this time. Flatten the hem out front so I don't have to fish around for it. Now our next hem is a down hem. Right on that prick mark. Yeah, this is looking good. Let's flatten that out. Now, let's go to the next mark on our prick marks. We also made it a 1/2, so it's flush in the front. This one's a 90. This one's a 90. I see a system developing here. I see a pattern. Flush in the front. 1/2 inch 90. I sure like that. Back over here. You guys holler if I'm going too fast. All right, I don't hear anybody. I'm bending the long sides up first because the long side is the one that has my tab on it. All right, let's go back over to the bench. All right, we're back at the bench. So we just finished bending up the long bends and the hem, the down, the up hems. So all we got to do now is fold up the ends. But we want these tabs to go to the inside of our tray. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm just lightly pushing down, mostly twisting. Now, this is how I want you to do it. So there's always something behind the screwdriver, right? I want everybody out there in land to show me what's wrong with this picture right here. Ooh, there's a lot wrong with that picture. Always have something backing. So I'm not making this effort by pushing. I'm making this effort by turning. And by turning, I'm letting the tab know that I want it to go to the inside of that upturned flange. Just turning. And I don't want you to get in a place where you're doing this. That's what we would like to accomplish. We want to open that hem because we want that tab to go inside the hem. But I don't want you to do this. Don't perform the function with brute force. I'd rather have you have a small screwdriver, no brute force, light taps, and then a slight turn. Look what a nice open hem. Did you see what we have there? And we weren't pushing a sharp instrument toward the parts of us and let whatever's on the inside of us let it out. So here we are again. I'm just going to take this with no pushing, no force, just taps. Now that I'm tapped, I'm going to rotate. See how I've opened that up? Isn't that awesome? All right, let's go over here to the box and pan brake. You guys probably don't have one of these, but since I am a highly skilled, highly paid professional, I do. But if you watch our tool tray video, you'll see how you can make these bends with some very basic tools. go. Yeah, this is looking good. Yeah. Now, let's do it again. We call it in the region where I grew up a box and pan break. But again, that's a regional name. That could differ wherever you're at. Here we go. Coming up nice and slow. Making sure the end goes inside. I like it. Now I'm going to take it inside of there because I want to go past 90. And then whenever we come back, we'll tuck it inside. And then we'll go back to the bench and we'll fine tune it. Here we are, back at the bench. When I said fine tuning, this is what I was talking about. I'm putting the tab into the hem. I'm going to hold still just for a second to make sure the camera's getting that. Tab is going into that open hem. So you can see this end is a little high, so I'm going to tap downwardly and then just watch it go to where I want it to go. So we're going to hold that down. I'm going to clamp that. Here we go. Nice sharp bit. Same thing here. One more little love tap. I love it. Forgot to load my pop gun. Told you to load your pop gun. And I didn't load the pop gun. What's this though? Old dog, new tricks. All right. Man, we're coming up on the finish line. Man, if I could get one in from this side, wouldn't that look cool? All right, here we go. Let's try it. I'm feeling lucky. I know what you're thinking. Well, look at this, putting it in from this side. All right, we're just going to put a little bit of love on it here. A little love here. So here's what we made. We folded a hem and a hem and a hem. And here we did a hem and a half and a half. Here's where the magic is right here. So we turned a 1 inch in here just to register the tray. And we left this ramp with an edge on the front. And that edge is what's going to keep our tray from coming out when we don't want it to. We're flush in the front, so we didn't have a handle that's sticking out. That's why we made our tray a 1/2 inch shallower. And so now to get our tray out, we just have to lift and slide it out. So these 1 inch bends that we made back into the base, they are what is registering the tray to the left and the right. If we didn't have that 1 inch right here, then the tray could get lost behind this mullion. That's like million, but with a U, M-U-L-L-I-O-N. So if we didn't have that, the tray could go behind there. So this way we didn't have to go shopping for a handle. We had it. We're coming up on the last part of it, so I also wanted to show you a couple of things. I want to put a couple of dividers in here. So let's go over to the break real quick. There's that 1/2 inch hem. Now to this one. The tape, when the leaf is flat, that's a 90. We're going to put 2 hems on this one. Man, this thing is coming out so good. Now I'm going to push it in. I'm going to make this next bend. Coming up 90. Last one. All right, here we go. So now we have our tray, our drawer. Now what I've done is I've made a very simple divider. And then we've made another divider. All I did was bend up a channel. And so if you wanted this to be your configuration, what you would do is take this one, put a little dab of polyurethane on the back or any adhesive of your choice. Silicone would probably work here. Then you would put that in. That would hold that divider in place. If you just wanted to split your tray into 2. But let's say you want to split it into 3. You would do the same thing. Add some sealant to the bottom of this. Put that in there. So now we have, I should have put a little more bend in this. Let me do that. Look at that. So let's look at this. what I did with the divider, again, your tool tray is probably going to be different than mine, but I went with 5.5, which was half of this drawer width, and then I made a 2-inch flange up, which matches the one in the tool tray. What I did with the hem is instead of turning a 1/2-inch hem, I turned a 9/16 hem. The reason I do that is I want the divider to stay just below the top of the drawer. Can you see that little drop right there? We just don't want, I want you to see this meeting, right, this intersection. Let me come over here on this side. Because what I don't want to do is I don't want this to do that. So what I did was I told myself I would make a 2-inch tall flange with a 1/2-inch 90, but look at this little plus. So when I turned that 1/2-inch 90, the 1/2-inch hem, 1/2-inch hem, I turned more than a half. So then that shortened this to make sure that I didn't end up with this. Make sure that we stayed just below the top. Same thing here. So now I have 3 drawers, and if I wanted, I could make a really narrow one and a wide one. I could make this any size I wanted. This was just a channel that had been up. See the hems on there? All right. So now we've made a base. It's got this little ramp here that's going to feed our tray in. Our tray can't come out until we lift it up and bring it out. The 1-inch return. This is that weird, remember we talked about this notch. What a weird little notch that was. And we talked also about that line. There's that little crease, that little bend that you and I are going to be the only ones that notice it. This is all flush in the front, so there's not something sticking out whenever you walk past. I could have made this tray a little taller. This gap is a little bit wide. It's a little wide, but also there's no trouble getting it in and out. So there's something to be said for if you try to get this very close, it's gonna, every time you go to pull your tray out, it's gonna take a little bit of additional effort. All right, I think that's it, hon. Don't you think we've done it? So we took our tool tray, we added a base, we turned a flange to the inside so we could rivet from the top, and that gives us a nice clean attachment that gives us a good finish. And we have a nice drawer with some dividers in it, or without any dividers. I like it. You like it? Man, she likes it. All right, that is it. So we made a tray on the bottom. No, we made a drawer on the bottom of our tray. Man, I like it. I like it. And we didn't have to go to a hardware store to buy a handle or any hinges or any latches. This ramp made our latch. All right, after you guys go back to work, I'm gonna do this a few more times. Thanks for coming today. Obviously, sheet metal is fun. I'm glad you guys came by. Thanks for watching. Thanks for doing it. If you make one, send us a picture. sheetmetalisfun@yahoo.com, right? Maybe you could be in the book of fabulous fabricators with our friends from Canada and Sweden and Italy, Alabama. All right. That's it. Sheet metal is fun. We're glad you guys stopped by. I like it. I think you're going to like it. Yeah. I'll see you guys in the next time. Sheet metal is fun. Yeah, I'll see you later. Bye.